Heidi ho, everybody. Happy Wednesday. It's hump day. We made it through half of the week, and it's been kind of a rough one. I got to tell you, I have had quite a day today. My Wednesday Mondayed like no Wednesday has ever Mondayed before. I had a lot of things not go quite according to plan. So I am feeling hopeful that tonight, for our usual Wine and Crime Wednesday, things will be a little smoother than the rest of my day was. Hello to Sarah Ellen. Hello to Max's mom. Thanks for joining tonight. Tonight, we're going to be talking about the Brian Walshe case. It is supposed to go to trial on October 20th. I am feeling a little reluctant to think that that's really going to happen because I feel like there are some other status hearings that are going to be taking place between now and the 20th, and that things could get wonky. So, hello, the Goodmans. Yes, I hope my night's better than my day as well. Wouldn't be tough. And thank you so much, Crochet Crime 30, that you love my commentary. I'm not deserving of all the compliments, but I am so thankful and happy that y'all are here for Wine and Crime Wednesday. I am not drinking wine tonight. If you've watched any of my other Wine and Crime Wednesdays, you know that I'm not a big drinker, but if you are, I certainly have absolutely nothing against that. And I hope you partake and let me know in the chat. Is it a Pinot? Is it a Sauvignon Blanc? Tell me what you're drinking if you are drinking wine. When I do, it's Moscato because it's got to be really sweet. So tonight, again, back to Brian Walshe. What we are going to do is I want to do a little synopsis first to get us kind of a background on the case. And Dee Dee, who is also Suspicious Sauce on X, has been so kind in letting me use all of the documents that she had been putting on X throughout the yesterday and today. We're not going to go over all of them, but there are a couple motions in limine that I think are telling as far as what is in them. And I think we may be able to glean some things from how the case is going to go. You may all remember or not remember about the fact that Walshe, Miles King, and 3 other cases are tied together with all of the status hearings that are being seen in front of Judge Krupp. I don't know what's going to unfold with all of that. It's looking like it's a mess. It involves discovery issues with Adam Lally. It involves other issues with former trooper Michael Proctor. And so I am not entirely sure how all of that is going to play out. And Carby Barbie would love to pick your brain on Ellen Greenberg. The documentary left me feeling so sad. So let me tell you, it is an incredibly, incredibly sad case. And when I left CrimeCon on the beginning of September, I was unaware that a court had ordered the medical examiner's office to re-examine the autopsy report and come back to the court by October 14th. So I am absolutely elated and excited and keeping my fingers crossed and praying that maybe we can move the needle a little on this case and get some justice for Ellen and for her mom and dad. So yeah, I was super excited when I took the time last night to watch it. Excellent documentary. If you have not watched it, you need to desperately see it. It's phenomenal. And the case is heartbreaking. We all kind of think we know what really happened. but it still is just not seeing the light of day in a court. It appears there's some pretty significant corruption, or at least people that have positions of power that are executing that power in not necessarily good ways. So I did a little breakdown on Ellen Greenberg after I went to CrimeCon, because there was a short or an hour-long session that Nancy Grace did with Joseph Scott Morgan. And I believe that ended up being my Friday Fire that I did. If you want to go back, it's about halfway through the episode where I talk about the Greenberg case, and I have some diagrams that were shared at CrimeCon. And so feel free to go back and look at that, because there were some tidbits from me being at CrimeCon that had not come out in the documentary. So that'll kind of give you a little synopsis before you watch Murder in or Death in Apartment 603 it's on Hulu, and it's Death in Apartment 603. So here we go. Let's get talking about Mr. Walshe and what he's got going on in his life. I hope this is the right one. Let me look. We'll see. All right. Let's add him to the stage here. And we are going to get a little synopsis from Justice Case Analysis. On New Year's Day 2023, Anna Walshe vanished without a trace. What began as a missing persons case in the quiet coastal town of Cohasset spiraled into a macabre mystery involving bloodstains, broken alibis, and Google searches that seemed ripped from a horror movie. Her husband, Brian Walshe, a convicted art swindler on house arrest, was soon charged with her murder, accused of dismembering her body and discarding the pieces like evidence of a forgotten crime. But behind the headlines lies another layer to this saga. The investigators themselves, Massachusetts State Police troopers, former trooper Michael Proctor, Yuri Buchanan, and Nicholas Guarino, already facing scrutiny for their roles in the explosive Karen Reed case, also appear in the Walshe investigation. Imagine that. Same players. It's like we're on rinse and repeat. Their involvement, along with whispers of prior misconduct, raises troubling questions about whether this case, too, could be tainted by bias, missteps, or worse. As echoes of the Sandra Birchmore tragedy add to the backdrop of mistrust in Massachusetts law enforcement, the Walshe case becomes more than a murder trial. It is now a test of public faith in the very system tasked with delivering justice. The Trial Hub examines the Brian Walshe case in depth, from the timeline of Anna's disappearance to court filings, evidence battles, and the broader systemic issues now threatening to overshadow the pursuit of justice. So we are going to, I'm just going to pop us out of here and go to the timeline. Bear with me, and we're going to look at exactly how this went about, or how it came about. All the steps that led up to where we are today. I'm a big fan of timelines. If you follow me for kind of anything, big on timelines. It's just visually for me, I'm like, oh, this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened. So I like the whole timeline business. So we start here. April 2021. This is when Brian pleaded guilty to 3 counts of fraud. This was because he was selling fake Andy Warhol paintings. And then in February of 2022, Anna started her job at Tishman Speyer. So she commutes from Cohasset all during the week. That's going to DC. So she's got a significant commute, I would say. In November, Anna Walshe was having an affair with a man in DC. She spent Thanksgiving with him in Dublin, Ireland, according to court documents. We're going to get into, I think, a little more detail when I get to some of those documents. And then December 28th, Anna told a friend she was upset about Brian going to prison. Really? I mean, I would, if Mr. Demeanor was going to prison, I would just take it and just, it would roll right off me. I wouldn't even be upset at all. Of course she was upset. Good grief. And that she was prepared to leave him and take the children to Washington. That, I believe, is where the initial motive comes in. Hello, KS Granny. Nice to see you again tonight. December 30th, Anna flew home from DC. She wasn't expected to come back from DC during the holidays, but she came home anyway. The electronic data Google search, what's the best state to divorce for a man? That was right before Anna came home on the 30th. So they got this a little out of order for me. But December 27th is when it appears that Mr. Walshe was doing some googly searches. I call it googly. And then, of course, on December 31st, Brian and Anna Walshe hosted a New Year's Eve dinner. And Anna has a friend, Jem Mutlu, and she was there. I think it's a she. I say she, but it may not be. So don't quote me on that. On January 1st, from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m., Anna is seen for the last time. Brian tells police she left in a ride share to catch a work emergency flight to DC. But investigators didn't find any ride or airport boarding or anything. Later that same day, Brian states he spent the day visiting his mother in Swampscott and running errands at CVS and Whole Foods locations with no surveillance or receipt evidence. Sir, are you unaware of how to make an alibi for yourself? This is not smart. This is really not smart business here. January 2nd, Anna's phone pings near their Cohasset home. Also on January 2nd, between the early morning hours, 4:55 a.m. and 1:20 p.m., Brian is conducting Google searches. Wait until you see what some of these searches are about. Body decomposition, dismemberment, disposal, embalming, cleaning blood, handling remains, and on and on. It's fascinating. Also on January 2nd, Brian is seen in the Home Depot in Rockland, wearing gloves and a mask, purchasing $450 in cleaning supplies, tarps, mops, tape, hatchet, gloves, and he paid using cash. You know, it's kind of your murder cleanup kit. Tarps, mops, tape, hatchet. I mean, all that's missing is what the lye. Isn't that what you put in with it? Is it to so that it's not supposed to make the body smell? Isn't that what all of the mob guys do? I don't know. January 3rd, Anna's unused flight booked for January 3rd is confirmed, but she never boards. Later on January 3rd, there's video data, surveillance showing Brian disposing of heavy trash bags at 3 separate apartment complex dumpsters. The retrieved items included blood-stained materials and a hatchet hacksaw. It is escaping me. Is it Fotis Doulos that also did the same thing? Can you all tell me that he and what is her name? She was just convicted, like last year? Oh my gosh. Also in the northeastern area. Y'all help me out. What is that lady's name? Oh, this has been going on all day today. They can't remember names, but what wasn't it? Fotis, wasn't that his first name? I feel like that was his first name. And he had a mistress too. On January 4th, Anna reported missing by her employer. You heard that right. It wasn't her husband that reported her missing. It was Jennifer. Yes, Jennifer Dulos. Thank you, Crochet Crime 30. Michelle Traconis, Turquoise Kitten. Bless your heart, because it was driving me crazy. Yes, Michelle Traconis. And yeah, okay, his name was Fotis. I thought it was Fotis Dulos. Dulos. Anyway, I'm glad we got that mystery solved. Whew. Ms. Demeanor will be able to sleep a little better tonight. Thanks for helping me out there. I had to phone a friend. Also on January 4th, a plastic liner was observed in Brian's trunk. When police did conducted the welfare check, they found a plastic liner in his Volvo, which was gone a couple days later in a search of the vehicle where blood was also detected. The following day, we're now just days still since Anna has gone missing, there is a public appeal issued and police start searching in the local woods there. This is like very, very, very reminiscent of the Jennifer Dulos case. It's unbelievable to me how many parallels there are with this case. I agree, Carby Barbie, that Fotis' girlfriend, Michelle, knows more than she lets on. And he just bounced out. He just was like, taking my life, I'm not dealing with this. To me, that was very, very telling. On January 6th, they continue search efforts. They continue with state police, air units, and also with canine teams. The 7th, the police receive a ransom email. Investigators received an email saying, we have her here with us, and that Anna Walshe would not be returned until Brian paid $127,000. Such an odd amount. And then finally on the 8th is when Brian was arrested for misleading investigators. He was not arrested based on any sort of homicide or anything, but strictly because he told him wrong things to, send him someplace else. And so a warrant was executed. Blood and bloody knife was found in the basement. That's never good. It's never good to find blood and a bloody knife in your basement. Hey, Free Kelsey, thanks for coming on. And so we go to January 9th. That is, of course, when Brian is arraigned in Quincy District Court. He pleads guilty to pleads not guilty to misleading investigators and is held in a $500,000 cash bail. Coffee Nut, you don't have to sit in the back of the class. Come right on in. Sit wherever you want, honey. You don't need to do that. It's all good here. This is a judgment-free zone. Also on the 9th, incriminating items were retrieved from Peabody and Swampscott facilities. More trash bags and bloodstained towels and rugs, Anna's boots, a handbag, a necklace fragment, a hacksaw, cleaning supplies, and Anna's COVID-19 vaccine card. How odd. Such a strange thing to have. And then on January 17th is when the warrant was issued for homicide for Brian Walshe and improper disposal charges. He pled not guilty the next day, held without bail, and we kind of head on down the line. He was indicted then in the end of March by a grand jury, and then it went to Norfolk Superior Court. So we're not in Quincy anymore. We're in Norfolk. There's a pretrial conference and another pretrial conference, and He had Tracy Minor as his attorney, and he ran out of money. So he got a public defender. And I will say he's a good public defender. Attorney Tipton, he's a good one. I'd be more than pleased if I had him covering my case. And yes, Free Kelsey, I agree. Walshe seems too intelligent to make such giant mistakes, but I think he did. I think that there's like this fine line, I believe anyway. When individuals decide to do this type of behavior, they walk that really fine line of they are the smartest person in the room, so therefore no one would ever find anything. And it makes them very arrogant. And I think that's where all the mistakes come in. I could be wrong. I'm just a mom, a wife, and a middle-aged lady. So I have no formal training whatsoever, but other than observing human behavior. And that's what I think when I see this. So I don't get caught up in, oh, he made so many mistakes. How could this be? It doesn't feel like he would make these kinds of mistakes. Yeah, they're arrogant. They think no one is going to know. I am just a normal mom. And Coffee Nut says, I feel like the serial killers that are out there are watching the Walshe case and going amateurs. I'm not sure what the tail end of that. I'm sorry, Coffee Nut. So we'll head back to the timeline here. So now we're in 2024. He was officially sentenced in the fraudulent art charge, and sentenced to 37 months in federal prison and ordered to pay $475,000 in restitution. And then we get to 2025. The 2025 defense team filed a motion to suppress. This is about when my ears perked, was probably about this time, because the Google search history was I shouldn't say that Google search history. Excuse me for just one moment. I have an emergency text message that I need to address here. Okay. My apologies. Real life sometimes. So this is when I started paying attention, because it was Miles King having similar issues. And of course, Rosemary Scapicchio was taking care of that. And then this came about, and we find out they didn't have a warrant. The attorney that was representing Brian at the time didn't give permission, but the police thought that permission was given to get all this electronic device information. Janet, keep scrolling, because it's the motion to suppress Google searches. That's kind of when I was like, what is going on here? And that's kind of where we have stalled ever since. Now, I have no idea, but I think there's a very, very strong possibility, Turquoise Kitten, that his mommy helped him. Yes. I think that is every bit a possibility. But we've been sitting in this weird limbo for months and months. I cannot possibly be the only person that is frustrated with how Judge Krupp has been handling this. It has literally been kick the can down the road, kick the can down the road, kick the can down the road. This has been going on for 4 or 5 months. I don't understand. You either have the discovery or you don't have the discovery. Judge Frenier is the one who did finally rule on the Google searches, and she allowed them. So she denied the defense motion to suppress that evidence based on what the Massachusetts State Police had how they had retrieved it. She did not find it compelling to deny that evidence coming in to the trial. And so it will be there. Let me now, I have to consult my guidelines here. Oh, by the way, if you haven't subscribed, do the YouTube thing and subscribe, like, share, do all that great handy dandy stuff for me. That'd be awesome. And I am going to now get to the Twix world, as Ms. Lady Zelda calls it. And I'm going to try, well, let's do it this way. We're going to start with the first motion in limine. This was from the Commonwealth. And I'm looking here to see. This is in reference to Trooper Proctor. So I'm not going to read from the very beginning on this one, but I will read. Oh, doggone it, Janet. I just got rid of something. That's okay. I will read because it's kind of teeny tiny. I apologize. I tried to enlarge it as much as I could. Let me see where I can pick up. I think a judge has discretion to determine whether the credibility of a police officer is a critical trial issue and whether prior false statements in a separate matter may have an effect on the result of trial, so that the evidence should be admitted in the interest of justice. Factors to be considered include the age of the prior misconduct, the strength of the evidence of the misconduct, the simplicity of establishing the misconduct, and whether the misconduct is probative of how a police officer conducts police investigations. If the misconduct would not have been admissible due to its age had it resulted in a criminal conviction, it is likely inadmissible. To be considered is whether establishing the misconduct will result in a trial within the trial. A judge may also consider whether the misconduct reflects a willingness to lie to win a conviction, or instead involves matters that, although serious, do not bear on the integrity of police investigations, such as taking unauthorized sick time or inflating overtime hours. We're going to skip down. The Commonwealth is not calling former Trooper Proctor, whose role in this matter was described in the Commonwealth's opposition to defendant's motion for Rule 17 summons for records from Massachusetts State Police Division of Standards and Training, an officer of professional integrity and accountability. Whew. Let me go to the next page here. As to the officers, they may call their conduct. Hang on, I messed that up. As to officers that the Commonwealth may call, their conduct did not involve untruthfulness. There has been no suggestion, nor is the Commonwealth aware of any allegations of misconduct as it pertains to this defendant's case. Former Trooper Proctor's conduct and text messages in an unrelated investigation are not relevant to any issue in this case. See Commonwealth v. Rodriguez, seeking production of internal affairs records. Court noted that the defendant has not shown, pursuant to the standards we established in our Wayness opinion, that events after the commission of the alleged crimes are either relevant to or likely to be helpful in resolving the question of his guilt. Former Trooper Proctor's role has been documented. Other officers were present at the interviews. Witnesses have testified or been re-interviewed, and former Trooper Proctor will not be called to testify by the Commonwealth. The Commonwealth also moves to preclude reference to a federal investigation into an unrelated 2022 investigation in Norfolk County. Gee, guys, I wonder what that was. The U.S. Attorney's Office informed the NDAO that the federal investigation was closed. No charges were reported. I think there's still a dispute about that. The Commonwealth also seeks an order precluding reference to or examination about any internal affairs investigation, discipline, other investigation, or sustained findings of non-testifying police witnesses. So, This was filed on September 29th, so this is very recent. Give me just a moment here. We're going to scroll on up to the next one. Oh, before I do that, I'm going to switch the view here so maybe you can see a little bit better. Hello, Mima Geo. Hey, Amy La, 1972, and Christine Life by the Sea. The ransom note in this case is what caught your attention, Free Kelsey? Interesting, huh? Okay, let me get back where I can read because this is like an eye chart for you guys right now. So, okay. Commonwealth's motion in limine number 11 to admit photos and short video of Anna Walshe as she normally appeared. As grounds, the body of Anna Walshe has not been found, and evidence will show that the defendant dismembered her body and disposed of it. Items containing Anna Walsh's DNA were recovered from a Swampscott dumpster at the defendant's mother's apartment complex. There's the mommy connection. Among the items recovered from that dumpster were a rug with a distinctive pattern, a distinctive Gucci necklace, a Hermes watch, and a necklace made with colorful craft beads. The Commonwealth seeks to admit a short video showing Anna Walshe and her children on a distinctive rug at the Walshes' residence, an image showing her wearing her distinctive Gucci necklace, an image showing her with her eldest son while she was wearing the necklace made with craft beads, and an image showing Anna wearing her, I always say this wrong. I'm not bougie, I promise. Well, I mean, my husband thinks I am. Hermes watch, an image depicting Anna, her eldest son, and the New Year's Eve dinner guest that was taken on December 31st, 2022, and an image contained in business records of Lyft for an account associated with Anna's. And then we have the footnote that says the defendant's DNA was also located on items in the dumpster. The short video and the images showing Anna with items found in the Swampscott dumpster are relevant to the identification of Anna Walshe. The image from New Year's Eve is relevant, among other reasons, to show Anna Walsh's physical condition, to corroborate testimony of the dinner guest, and to allow jurors to see the photo that WF, that's the paramour, received from Anna that night. The image from the Lyft records is relevant to Anna's identification as the user of an account associated with her phone number. The photographs are not inflammatory, were provided in discovery, and are relevant for identification. So the rest here is legal jargon. So hang on, y'all. I'm moving stuff around so I can get to the next one. I think next one is, next one's about the federal charges. And before I go to that, it doesn't sound good, Max's mom, for Walshe. The motion to suppress was ruled on, and Judge Frenier felt that the investigators, the Massachusetts State Police, would have inevitably found that evidence anyway. And so the fact that they obtained it earlier didn't matter. So it's all coming in. It's all coming in. That was kind of the only leg he had to stand on. So, all right, we're going to head on over here. I got screens on top of screens. Y'all just don't even know what this looks like over here. So, okay. This is regarding the federal charges. I'm going to go back here. Lots of legalese here. In December 2022, Attorney Minor was negotiating disposition with federal authorities. During recorded interviews with police after he reported that Anna left Cohasset on January 1st, 2023 for a work emergency in Washington, D.C., The defendant told police that being apart was a stressor for them and that he had recently learned he was facing committed time on the federal charges. During the interview, he stated that Anna was upset at the thought of him going to federal prison for 6 months. The defendant said, after all of this, because we had been apart for so long, she's like, why do we do all of this house and running the townhouse and all the traveling why do we struggle this much? I mean, the cost of and not being together. I remember her being very upset when I talked to her about it. The defendant owed significant restitution, which his attorney wanted him to pay as soon as possible. Meanwhile, Anna had expressed frustration with her children not being with her in Washington, D.C., and told a friend that she and the defendant had a big argument over Christmas when she told him he needed to take accountability for his crime and, if necessary, accept a committed sentence. Oh, imagine that. Anna's like talking some real rational and reasonable language here. Anna told a friend that she had only recently learned that the reason her children were not with her in Washington, D.C. was because of the defendant and his lawyer. The Commonwealth's theory is that the defendant was aware that Anna was in a relationship with a man in D.C., realized that their marriage was likely to end, and that if the children moved to D.C. with Anna, it was much less likely that his sentence would be home confinement rather than imprisonment, and that he would inherit substantial life insurance proceeds if Anna was unalived. The defendant told police that he believed that he would not be sent to prison if Anna was not available to take care of the children. He told police, but that's all been put under suspense because of this. What an odd way to say things. So the federal case evidence that the Commonwealth seeks to admit is listed here. It is his guilty plea, conditions of his release, what he was charged with, some scheduling and motions that were done. No, doggone it, Janet, you went to the wrong page. And then we get to the argument, and this also shows a list. Oh, for heaven's sake. A list from the federal docket of the same documents that they were referencing in the upper portion. And then it says what the defendant was sentenced to up here on the top of page 4. The defendant was sentenced on February 20th, 2024. And the sentence included a mandatory $300 special assessment and restitution in the amount of $475,000, for which $95,077.97 was deemed paid. So that is where we are on the federal charges. It does go on and on and on, but I don't believe when I was reviewing this earlier, let me double check here. This is about prior bad acts, and I'm trying to hit the highlights of some of what he some of his statements and such. I think that's a little more compelling for what we're discussing here in preparation for it going to trial. When asked about stressors during the January 4th, 2023 interview, the defendant told police, "I've been having legal problems for many years now. That's one of the reasons why I couldn't leave, because I'm dealing with that now. But it was supposed to be done a long time ago and it wasn't. So we've been really depressed about that. And there is restitution that I get to pay, but we have the money and we're just waiting to get a final resolution." So the stress was being apart, not being the authors of our own lives. I couldn't move when we had to, but yes, the biggest stress was not being there. Before, when I was dealing with it, we were together. It was fine. It was, it was one of those, and then we were a magnificent team. We were able to get through anything together. Whew. That's like some circle talking right there. Specifically asked about his legal stress, the defendant said, "I misrepresented a Warhol piece. You can read about it in the papers. So I had some art and I lost money on it, and I misrepresented it to another person, a gallery in LA. And then I Then the FBI got involved and I was arrested, and that occurred in 2018. So I've been dealing with that. And then we went to sentencing in October 8th of 2021, and everything was going to be fine. After attributing his sentencing being postponed due to an issue with a bank, the defendant said, I'm kind of locked down here at the house. Part of my sentence was home confinement, but it's gone over the 12 months because of things have not been resolved yet. And that's why I haven't been able to be in Massachusetts in DC with my wife. Are we getting a flavor for Mr. Walshe by reading some of these quotes from the questioning that was done by law enforcement? During the January 5th, 2023 interview, when asked if Anna ever talked about unaliving herself, the defendant said, no. She never, ever said that. She talked to Jem for an hour and a half. I know you spoke to him. Ha, see, it's a him. But about how the year had been and about how she was really unhappy about the trial and things taking, or the court case taking longer and us not being able to be together. And she kept saying, I can come back. And then she's like, well, I only have, 100,000 or, a smaller job. I got to get to the next page here, folks. And I was like, no, we've made these huge sacrifices for you to be there. We have the townhouse. We'll stick it out. She was good to see a psychiatrist. It was the first time she ever brought that up, but I'd spoke to Jem about it today. He's spoken to me 8 times today, and he basically said, hey, that's fine. It doesn't mean there was any problems. It means she had a problem. She was going to deal with it in a healthy way. So that was his experience. I was overwhelmed by the 3 children, and she was missing them. So it was a really bad situation. We discussed splitting them up, like TW would go with her. And I was like, do you want to split the kids up? And she's like, well, I could take all the kids. And I was like, how's that going to be for your job then? We did not have a good solution. I don't know. Some of the way this dude talks kind of has me giggling. It's not a funny situation, but the way he talks is funny to me. During the January 7th, 2023 interview, the defendant and attorney Minor discussed the federal case, including that the defendant was trying to pay the restitution as soon as possible. When Trooper DeChico said he was trying to get a clear picture of the financial situation, the defendant said, just so you know, Anna's main thing was like, when can you come to DC? And the reason why I couldn't was because this is not resolved. She was like, why don't you come to DC? Then we'll just pay the bill. And I was like, it doesn't exactly work that way. Later during that interview, the defendant said during a conversation with Anna, he said, I know it's been tough being separated, and she's like, yeah, well, you have to get to, but her whole thing was like, you and the kids get to DC as quickly as possible. We had conversations about, the struggles that we're having being apart. And she's like, you and the kids have to get here as soon as possible. Not, there was nothing other than that. That was always her main focus. Later, he said, we agreed on I have to get to DC. It just didn't feel like we were the authors of our own lives. That's why she wrote that on the thing. We have to be the authors of our own lives. We have to make this happen, Brian. We're always working together. Sounds like a tool. I don't know. Sounds like a tool to me. All right. Then this goes into some of the evidence. I'm truly fascinated with some of the actual quotes that have been unveiled, shall I say, with all of this. So let me head to the next one. Is this enlightening for all of you? I hope so. I love to see the nitty gritty details. Oh, did I miss what I'm looking for? I think I did. I think I'm going to skip that one because there is one in particular that I am interested in. And I think it's this one. So this is a motion in limine number 14 to allow admission of text message conversations. I gotta hydrate, y'all. Give me just a moment. Oh, much better. Had to wet my whistle. Let's go to the second page. That's what I needed. This is talking about the text messages and how they can be authenticated. So I'm going to go ahead and read through this because I put it as one of my notes, thinking it sounded kind of interesting to me. Text messages can be authenticated in multiple ways. To satisfy the requirement of authenticating or identifying an item of evidence, the proponent must produce evidence sufficient to support a finding that the item is what the proponent claims it is. I'm going to skip down to the bottom here. Yep. Text messages the defendant sent and received from family members, friends, the nanny, the victim's employer, the victim's sister, and an upholstery business are relevant evidence of his interactions, his activities, and his state of mind. Messages between the defendant, Anna Walshe, and G. Mutlu, which I think is Jem, are relevant to show that the defendant claimed his phone to be missing and that Anna never responded to Jem after he left the Walshe home at approximately 1:30 a.m. on January 1st, 2023. Remember, we saw that earlier about Jem being at pictures confirming that Jem was at the New Year's Eve party. So this is tying that in together. Messages between the defendant and Anna Walshe relevant to show the frequency of their communication by text message. The absence of messages from Anna after she supposedly left the house is relevant to the defendant's state of mind, as are the defendant's texts to Anna's phone at 8:32 a.m. on January 3rd, 2023, describing what he intended to do because she had not been in touch with him. WF, that's the paramour, will authenticate text messages between himself and Anna Walshe, which are evidence of the states of mind of Anna and of the defendant. The texts demonstrate a serious romantic relationship and that Anna was in contact with WF during the New Year's Eve dinner, that the defendant saw text messages between WF and Anna, and Anna is reasonably inference, among other things. He told police messages intended for Anna sometimes appeared on his phone, that Anna put her phone in their bedroom on New Year's Eve because of communication from another friend, and he researched disposing of a SIM card. Who else do we know disposed of a SIM card? Could that be Higgy? Do we all remember Higgy disposing of his SIM card? Yeah, that. Let me see here. Next one is internet history. This is what we've all been wanting to talk about. Let's take a peeky weeky here. So, the internet history shows that the devices were accessing information about topics including, but not limited to, here comes the list: divorce, including jurisdictions perceived to be favorable to men in a divorce proceeding and divorce laws in Washington, D.C. Not so suspicious about that. Okay, you want to go your separate ways. The man with whom Anna was having a relationship in Washington, D.C. Uh-oh. Okay, that's a little more. Corn involving a cheating wife. I don't say that word on here. So, you know, the one that they show images of people in intimate moments, only it's rhymes with corn. Anyway, that's what they're talking about. Disposing of human remains. I mean, I search really weird stuff all the time because I'm a true crime fanatic, but even I don't googly disposing of human remains. decomposition of a body, embalming a body, how long before a body starts to smell, and type of person who dismembers a person. What are we doing, dude? Type of person who dismembers a person. What in the heavens is that? Oh my goodness. How to identifying human remains. How to use certain tools to dismember a body. Cleaning and chemical agents to clean blood and biological materials from a residence. Scouting locations to dispose of evidence. We're not done. Length of time retail stores keep surveillance video. Using accounts and collecting inheritance from a missing spouse and declaring a missing person dead. Destroying a SIM card, disposing of a cell phone, disposing of a computer, ability of law enforcement to track suspects through phones and internet history. Excuse me, sir. You are giving them everything right now. This is just unbelievable. Dumps in Cohasset and Hingham, I guess that's how you say that. I'm not from those parts. Personnel at Tishman Speyer and buildings managed by Tishman Speyer. Apartment buildings, real estate in Massachusetts, Maryland, and DC. Lowe's formaldehyde. Police use of cadaver dogs in dumps. How long does DNA last? Is it possible to clean DNA off a knife? Can identification be made on partial human remains? Like, this dude has literally run the gamut on everything you could possibly search. This is fascinating. Device looked at discovermagazine.com. The sciences want to get away with murder. Use a special detergent. How to clean a crime scene. How to use hydrogen peroxide in blood stains in concrete. And Anna Walshe dead and Anna Walshe missing. It goes on. Evidence of a defendant's internet history is admissible. They talk about a case that talks about things that I do not want to say on the internet. So we're going to head on down the road to my next item. Let's see. What do I have? Winding into the last couple motions in limine that I did want to cover. Oh, yes. I found this fascinating. I need to see, it's just 2 pages, it looks like. And yes, Free Kelsey, mid Google search, O'Brien begins to psychoanalyze himself and his life choices. I think you should have done a little bit earlier, just a skoshi bit earlier. Let's get back to me reading this next motion in limine. This one is introduce that Axios Investigations hired by defendant's mama on December 28th, 2022 to conduct surveillance of Anna Walshe. There's mommy again. She just comes swooping in. The Commonwealth anticipates that the evidence will include that over Christmas 2022, the defendant told Anna that his mother believed she was planning to take the kids and leave him for Guy in DC. The defendant was researching divorce law on December 27th, 2022. 1 day later, his mother hired the investigator to investigate Anna's infidelity. I mean, a conversation that really wasn't on the table? Y'all, this is crazy. You hire a private investigator? Just talk to her. You wanted a divorce anyway. The defendant's mother lived in Swampscott, and as shown by the defendant's digital devices, travel, and statements, the defendant was in frequent contact with her. The defendant was aware that his mother had hired a private investigator at 6:30 p.m. on January 4th, 2023. The mother texted the defendant that my investigator has been there for 2 hours. meaning at Anna Walsh's Washington, D.C. townhouse. In a January 5th, 2023 text message to Anna's employer, the defendant wrote, "The private investigators wanted to know if Anna had any vacation days this week." On January 4th, 2023, during an interview that began at 6:39 p.m., the defendant told police that his mother wants to hire private investigators. On January 5th, 2023, the defendant told police that his mother had an investigative team in D.C. that did not believe Anna went back to D.C. That the defendant's mother hired the investigation firm 1 day after the defendant was researching divorce and 3 days after he was researching the name of the man with whom Anna was having a relationship is properly admitted. Footnote, at 6:39 p.m. on January 4th, 2023, the defendant's mother texted Axios with the garage code to Anna's townhouse and, "My son has given you permission to go in." Wasn't that nice of him? Those, I believe, are the end of the oh, maybe I have one more. Hang on. Hold the phone, Janet. Hold the phone. Yeah, 202 is the last, and I think 216, I'm going to find that. That is actually a defense motion in limine that I thought was interesting. This is also in reference to the internet searches. This was in reference to when they were trying to get them suppressed for the entirety of the trial. As grounds, the defendant asserts that failure to require the Commonwealth to designate the specific evidence described herein it intends to introduce. Oh, I take that back. This is the motion in limine because they want to know specifically what the Commonwealth is planning on bringing in as evidence, as digital evidence. And so they're requesting it in this. And this was filed, I want to say really, really recently, like in the last day or so. I can't see the date on this. Yeah, it's too it's swooshed off at the end. So that is their motion wanting to disallow all of the digital evidence that the police, that the troopers had collected. That kind of, if I'm looking here correctly, I think that concludes what I had. There are several motions in here that include how the media is going to be handled. It sounds again like they're trying to institute some sort of buffer zone. It also appears that they want all witnesses sequestered, which I think is not unusual at all. Some of the other motions I saw were how they were going to handle video of the actual trial, whether it would be done through Zoom, or I'm assuming at this point, Judge Frenier is going to have to allow some sort of pool camera because there is so much light being shown on this particular case. So that's where we are with Brian. I just felt like when I was reading those motions in limine, there were a lot of little tidbits in there. It's kind of like the mega motion. The mega motion itself isn't so jaw-dropping. It's when you get into the hyperlinks and you're like, what? What? I didn't know this. I didn't know this either. So that's where we are. I am working on possibly getting Jodine Weber to come talk with me on a live. Do y'all know who Jodine Weber is? If you don't, she is a lovely lady who has written a book, and she's also a former FBI agent. And I really, really want to pick her brain on the David Anthony Burke case, which is Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Her body was found in the trunk of David's Tesla. So, oh, you don't know her? Christine Life by the Sea says, oh, she's delightful. She's been on with Linda Kenny Bodden and Michael Bryant on Justice Served TV several times. I'm trying to connect with her on a specific day and time that we can get together on it. So that will be coming up. I also have a connection I am trying to get with from Nashville, and he has a podcast called Music City 911. I'm hoping to get him connected with me at some point. I think that would be a fascinating live stream to have, speaking with someone that has 911 calls. We can talk about some of them. So I have some things in the works while we're in a no trial happening, not a lot of hearings happening. And I can tell y'all right now, I'm staying out of the craziness that's happening in Massachusetts. Don't even ask me about it, because I don't want any of that filth rubbing off on me. Stinks. So, nope. I mean, I have been entertained. I'm not going to deny that. But we got stuff to handle in life. We can't be messing with all this craziness. So make sure you subscribe, you like, you share, you tell your friends. We have more content coming up. I am, fingers crossed, hoping that when Courtney Clenny's trial is going, I might take a day or two off and live stream throughout the trial for the day. So y'all can give me some comments and let me know if that's something you would be interested in following along with me. We could watch the trial together for a couple days. I do still have that, day job. So I have to plot my days specifically. But I think I'd like to do that in that case, because I think it will be interesting. So, and I'm assuming that it will be televised. So that being said, I am going to send you all off to the rest of your week. We've reached the hump. We've gotten through it. And this was way better and way smoother than the rest of my day went. So I'm thankful for that. And like I always say, it doesn't cost a penny to be kind. So find someone to do something nice for today, if you haven't already. And remember to always make good choices. Until next time.